one brutal gang that established itself in the gang-riddled streets of LA is MS-13. MS-13 emerged as a result of El Salvador's Civil War in the 1970s. Because of this, immigrants fled into the US to escape conflict, only to later fight a gang war on the streets of LA and back in the country they fled from. According to Britannica, around 900,000 people were displaced when insurgent group Farabundo Marte National Liberation Front clashed with El Salvador's government forces. When immigrants flooded to LA to safety in the Hispanic communities, they soon realised they were not safe at all. The Mexican gangs that were already established in the area did not see them as part of their own, and they preyed on them as outsiders. So, the displaced members of FMLN, who by now were already familiar with military tactics, unified and created their own gang out of protection. The organisation was established as Mara Salvatrucha in the early 1980s. Just as the crack epidemic had brought violence and weaponisation to new heights in LA. The gang is said to derive from the gang term Mara, meaning gang, and Salvatruchas, meaning street tough Salvadorans. From there, thanks to an American-assisted civil war in Nicaragua,
we have an obligation to be of help where we can to freedom fighters, lovers of freedom and democracy, from Afghanistan to Nicaragua.
And unrest in Guatemala, the gang recruited new members from the immigrants fleeing these conflicts. However, it was not until the early 1990s that the gang became a serious force on the streets when it formed an alliance with the Mexican mafia. The gang would then be known as MS-13. Many people have a strange fascination with the number 13. For example, to many it is symbolic of bad luck or misfortune. This may be due to the fact that Judas was said to be the 13th disciple, or that the 13th chapter of Revelation is reserved for the Antichrist and the Beast. In fact, many hotels do not have a 13th floor, instead jumping from 12 to 14 because of the negative connotations of the number. Friday the 13th is also known as an unlucky day, and wedding venues struggle to get bookings on that date as people do not want to jinx their marriage. The number 13 is also revered within the gang and makes up a large part of their identity and organisation. As M is the 13th letter in the alphabet, this is allegedly why they included the number in their gang name. Early founders of MS-13 were young, heavy metal fans who also took inspiration from Satanism and its symbology. Certainly, their motto is symbolic of the number 13 representing evil, as it states, kill, rape, control. Also, 13 is used in their initiation rituals. Members are beaten for 30 seconds to be recruited into the gang. If they can last the 13 seconds, they display the toughness and heart to be allowed into the ranks. However, in some cliques, such as Fulton, members have to commit murder to become fully fledged members. Also, female members can be initiated into the gang by having a train run on them by male members. However, unlike other US gangs that have a strict hierarchy, MS-13 have a loose structure, meaning gangs can form without needing the seal of approval from leaders. This also means that law enforcement struggle to tackle the gang, as it is not as simple as cutting the head off the snake. Because of this structure, in the 21st century, the gang has spread to almost every state in the United States. The gang also returned to Central America to establish MS-13 there. This led to El Salvador having the highest murder rate in the world in 2013, with Honduras coming in second. In 2016, El Salvador also had the third highest rate of femicide in the world, as 5,000 women were killed. The gang has no moral code on who they kill and who they do not, unlike some other gangs. MS-13 will target not only rival gang members, but men, women and children and their families, friends and even neighbours, even if they are complete civilians. In Central America, the gang has become much more structured, vaster, more violent and more powerful than in the US. In response, the police have also become more militarised, making life doubly hard for civilians. MS-13 is even classified as a terrorist organisation by El Salvador's government. MS-13 was strengthened greatly by the recruitment of Ernesto Deras, who gained leadership of his clique in 1990. Deras was a highly skilled military tactician who was part of the Salvadoran Special Forces who were trained in Panama by US Green Berets. The link between Central America and the United States meant that MS-13 was perfectly equipped to begin their human trafficking operation across the border. Drug smuggling was another area they excelled, as they were able to form alliances with Mexican cartels to smuggle drugs across the border. As they formed links with powerful cartels, they were also able to access more advanced weapons and better technology to wage street war and earn money through illegal activity. However, their feared weapon of choice is still the machete, and the gang is known to commit the most heinous hacking executions rather than shooting from afar. Furthermore, associates in trades such as delivery services, construction, hospitality and landscaping are aided by MS-13, who provide false documentation such as visas to employers. This way, they are able to get a foothold and influence in legitimate business sectors. Also, in Central America, MS-13 has infiltrated and corrupted parts of the government to wield power in the running of the country. MS-13 make money any way they can, including smuggling and selling narcotics, vehicle theft, extortion, prostitution, weapons trafficking, home invasions, carjackings, identity theft, fraud and robbery. In the 90s, the law was changed in the US, allowing the government to deport convicted criminals. However, this only helped spread the gang, and deporting gang members who had a human trafficking operation was pointless, as they could easily sneak back over the border. When MS-13 returned to Central America, it also gave the impoverished a chance to earn money. So this also expanded the ranks of the gang. Official FBI statistics concluded that anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 MS-13 members were active in the US in the early 21st century, with around 50,000 members in Central America. In LA alone, there are 15 to 20 MS-13 cliques in areas such as Westlake, Pico Union, Koreatown, East Hollywood, North Hollywood, Panorama City and Van Nuys. Most members are anywhere from 11 to 40 years old. In the US, like almost everything these days, the topic of Hispanic gangs has become a divisive political issue. Republicans argue that immigration and lack of immigration control allow violent gangsters such as MS-13 members to flood into America.
They're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Democrats, in response, assert that this is a racist viewpoint used to demonise all immigrants to stop general immigration because they are racist and do not want more non-whites in the US.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire.
Much like the Bloods and the Crips, who are easily identified by their gang colours, MS-13 do not operate in the shadows like the Mafia. They brazenly tattoo themselves, often even their faces, with the number 13. Now this is another thing to be wary of, especially if you are someone that is likely to end up in a US prison. Many people like to tattoo the number 13 on themselves because of its strong association and symbolism of many things. However, if you are imprisoned with MS-13 members and have the number 13 on your body as a civilian, they will see this as falsely claiming membership and will treat this as the height of disrespect. It goes without question that the consequences of this is extremely serious and possibly deadly. MS-13 do, however, have some ingenious forms of covert communication, using their own form of sign language to identify other members and secretly communicate. The main rival to MS-13 is the 18th Street Gang, or Barrio 18, who they previously held an alliance with. The gangs were said to break their alliance after one single incident where a fight broke out about a girl, leading to an MS-13 member being killed. This sparked a cycle of vengeance attacks which continued to grow and spread. Much of their warfare was carried out in prisons across Central and Northern America. However, in some cliques in El Salvador, you have to kill a member of Barrio 18 in order to become a full member, ensuring the war continues. In 2005, Barrio 18 also split into two opposing gangs, the Revolutionaries and the Sureños, causing a three-way war. A truce was held in 2013 between the gangs, but soon after there was a peak homicide rate in 2015 in El Salvador. In 2019, the murder rate dropped rapidly. Some attribute this to the government's national security plan. However, others speculate that a pact had been agreed between gang leaders, prison gang leaders, and some of El Salvador's government to reduce crime in exchange for better prison conditions. However, as the pandemic started to subside in 2021, the gangs were warring again, and in November 2021, there were 46 murders in 3 days. Also, in 2022, gang members in El Salvador massacred 92 civilians, including traders, shoppers, and bus passengers, to send a message to the government. It seems like the truce was well and truly over. The government responded by arresting tens of thousands of suspected members. In 2023, 2,000 MS-13 gang members were transported and held in the Terrorism Confinement Centre, an incredibly strict new mega prison purposely built to house gang members and crush the gang. The jail is designed to be an uncomfortable deterrent. There are no mattresses and prisoners sleep in bare 4-story metal bunks. There are around 100 prisoners per cell with only 2 sinks and 2 toilets per cell. Prisoners do not leave their cells unless they have legal hearings via video conference or to be placed in isolation cells as punishment. However, the government has received criticism by some, as they have declared a state emergency to deal with the problem, which has allowed them to bypass human rights laws. Suspected members can be arrested without a warrant, and they no longer have the right to a lawyer. This has led to a 57% drop in homicides in El Salvador. However, undoubtedly, this must have led to many innocent civilians being unjustly jailed also. However, as the prison can hold up to 40,000 prisoners, it seems that this action is unlikely to decrease.